Hey everybody, how's it going? Welcome back to another episode of Beavis and Butthead from Mike Judge on Paramount Plus. This is going to be our episode 4 review, looking at The New Enemy and Doppelganger. Also, before I start this episode, I just gotta say, all the love from all you guys in the comments just comparing us to Beavis and Butthead. Keep it up. There's just so much love from you guys. You guys are so much fun. So the beginning of this episode shows Beavis and Butthead waking up from a nap on the couch, and Butthead, before he went to sleep, he actually had a bowl of nachos in his lap, which I guess were full, and when he wakes up, they're gone, so obviously he blames Beavis, and then the two soon realize that it was actually a raccoon that took the nachos, so they decide to get revenge on this raccoon. So, really quickly, the thing that I wanted to note right off the bat was the humor this time around. I'm not gonna say it felt light or like tame. It felt like right in its element. I mean, it's still, got some gnarly stuff in it. Most notably, the segment part of the episode where they're like doing commentary on MTV stuff. This music video comes where the whole time Butthead is just saying how the backup dancers look like Beavis's mom, where he's just calling her a slut the entire time. So I mean, it's still your Beavis and Butthead humor, but what I want to say about this episode is, like the most previous episode, Roof, it's got that kind of feel where it's like, I mean, you expect it to go down some really comedically bizarre routes. I mean, this being a raccoon that Beavis and Butthead are against, in their own house, by the way. That's where the episode takes place, is in their home, after it stole their fucking nachos. So, one thing I was kind of like, I guess like a little disappointed about in the last episode, Roof, is that it's these two guys stuck on a fucking roof trying to get down. It could have gone to so many different routes, as for this episode could have, as far as like, expectations and hopes for it. And while I will say this, personally, I was laughing throughout this episode. I would actually go as far as to say that like it's the most I've laughed out of an episode since the first two. Episode 3 with Roof and River, I obviously thought were, fine. But this was the most I had laughed, since the first couple episodes.
Well, I'm going to be honest. The raccoons didn't seem like... I was expecting a little more from it. I mean...
Yes.
It's them versus the raccoons. Come on, they could have gone so far with it. And instead, they just kind of half-assed it a little,
So, the raccoons in this episode, you don't really see much of them. Like, with an episode being, labeled Beavis and Butthead versus this raccoon, or this group of raccoons that stole their nachos, you'd expect that, and it really isn't that. But going back to, like, the humor and everything, what I did like about this episode was that it actually showcases Beavis more than anything. He's more of like the front and center in this episode than anything, more than the raccoon, than even like the premise or Butthead. We see that depiction of Beavis, like how, his thought process, like the way that like he comes out with his jokes and his plans that just are kind of like, okay, Beavis, all right. We see a lot of that, which is, again, that kind of like wholesome, adorable, just stupid Beavis fun that we love out of Beavis. We see that more than anything front and center a lot of times. But again, much like that episode Roof that we got in the last episode, this seems like something that could, again, hopefully and expectedly, go to some really comedically bizarre routes. And by the end of it, it just kind of felt like a throwaway, disposable episode to me.
Well, the bee episode, which, by the way, I'm sure you guys have probably seen by now.
I like beekeepers.
they could have done something like that with it. They could have, shown Beavis, attacking the raccoon, or, or, you see Butthead get mauled by the raccoon, and he's like, get it off me, or something. And then, you find out one of them gets rabies, and they have to get, 12 shots in their stomachs,
That would have been hilarious. See, I feel like if this episode was made in the 90s, it would have gone down something like that. And, what I did like is, we get some stuff like that, where they're climbing the tree, and, Beavis is like, what is that thing, bud? And he's like, I think it's a bear. So it's they're climbing this tree trying to get to this raccoon, and they think it's a bear. So it does go down some, like, just humorously stupid routes. But again, as far as, like, payoff and, like, expectations, and, you know, again, for a concept this ridiculous, it didn't deliver. So personally, I'm going to give The New Enemy a mixed to positive review. Again, the episode felt fine, and again, the humor and, like, and all that, it was fine. Just the pacing and the payoff, it just didn't deliver.
I mean, it's raccoons and Beavis and Butthead. What were they doing? What did you do?
Again,
how did you get it wrong?
Again, like the roof episode, I'm like, so these guys are stuck on the fucking roof trying to get off. You mean to tell me that that's one of the weakest episodes of the series so far? Come on. Now this next episode, I will say this. This episode is something we've never gotten in Beavis and Butthead at all yet. Which this episode is called Doppelganger, which shows Beavis going up to a stranger that looks exactly like Butthead almost remotely like Butthead. And when he meets this guy, mistaking him for Butthead, this guy, you find out, is new in town, and he sees Beavis as his first friend, and he's just kind of that guy that doesn't get the hint that Beavis does not want to fucking hang out with him.
You know who he reminds me of? He reminds me of Pepe Le Pew. And Beavis is the cat that gets that freaking white line on his back, and he mistakes Beavis for a skunk. That's kind of what it feels like to me.
So basically, this guy is just overly attached. He's not getting any of the hints, and Beavis is just basically trying everything to get away from this guy, which we've all fucking been there. So I will say this, with saying all this, I feel like this episode was intentional, more or less, to just annoy the fuck out of the audience. Like, I don't think that, like, this episode was supposed to, like, have audience go, that was a good episode, let's watch that again.
I mean,
no, it was supposed to, like, make us just be like, okay, can we just get done with this episode? But in saying that, it had a fair plot.
You know, this isn't the first time someone actually got infatuated with Beavis. His personality, that is, not him. Like, remember that episode where they go to that poetry slam thing? And that guy is like, I am digging this guy's energy. Get him some more espresso. Keep the coffee coming.
Give my man another frappuccino. He goes like, frappuccino? But yeah, this episode obviously felt uncomfortable for a number of reasons. Because, for one thing, we barely see Butthead, like, at all in this episode. So having, like, a Beavis-only episode with just this new stranger that's just absolutely hateable, more or less. It just, like that, plus just seeing somebody have such an attachment to Beavis, and just thinking he's just such this cool guy. And it was just, it makes you sympathize with Beavis for once. Like, because Beavis is just trying to get away from this guy, and he's just like, yeah, alright, cool, well, I'm gonna go find Butthead now, and the guy's just not getting the hint. And it's like, it's one of those things where it's like, it kind of allows you to take a step back and, like, you know, because, like, obviously whenever we see Butthead and Beavis together, we're just like, God, Butthead's just such a dick. Beavis deserves better. But, like, when they're, like in this episode, you're just like, Nah, Beavis needs to go back and get this shit kicked out of him, like every episode. This is weird. So, I will say, like, I feel like this episode was intentional to just get under viewers' skin and just be like, next. So, personally, obviously, for all these reasons, I don't see myself, you know, coming back to the episode. It's not going to be the one that I revisit out of the bunch. But in saying that, it's not a, like, unnecessary episode. It's not a bad episode. It's just, yes, this episode was intended to annoy the fuck out of audience, and it did that. But in saying that, you know, it's not a bad episode, and I get it.
I'm gonna give it kind of a 4.
Okay, so you liked it better than the other one.
I did, a lot better.
I think so too.
I was a little disappointed because I thought they were gonna go a different route with it.
Yeah.
But, like, at first I thought the guy was gonna turn out to be a serial killer and try to kill Beavis. Or it turns out he's gay and he's hitting on Beavis, you know?
Oh, no. It's one of those things, like the first part of this episode, where if this episode took place in the 90s, I feel like they would have, you know, gotten more with this character other than just him kind of being a nuisance and Beavis getting annoyed of him, you know?
Right?
Like, again, I feel like both of these episodes were fine in their own right. It's just, for Beavis and Butthead, he could have gone to much further lengths. But yeah, I would say that overall, as far as the episode ranking goes, I still hold the special one to the very bottom, just because that one was still just only mixed for me. And again, I still get it as time has gone on. I've reflected at it, and I think it's fine. But I still just don't think that these ones are near the top at all. So guys, that is going to do it for our episode 4 review of Mike Judge's Beavis and Butthead on Paramount Plus. Let us know what you guys thought about the episodes as well as the video down below. What is your guys' favorite episodes so far? Let us know in the comments, guys. As always, thank you guys so much for watching. We'll see you next week with episode 5. And the fun doesn't stop here tonight. We will be seeing Orphan First Kill in the theater. So look forward to that review coming later tonight, guys. But yes, as always, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys are all having a great day, and we'll see you in the next one. Take care.